Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. So this time we have Ryan and I returning to the series with a second place list from the LLDS in Dover, and bringing something very different from what he's typically brought to us before, and something that is just popping up recently thanks to some new support. So this is Invoked Mekk Knights Strikers. So let's run through the list first. We have triple Alistair, triple Ash, triple Gamma, and one Driver, one Lazuli, and one Avram. This is to go with a pretty interesting combo he's thought up, which we'll go through in a bit. One Blue Sky, a double Indigo Eclipse, and triple Mekk Knight Purple Nightfall, triple Brilliant Fusion, double Call by the Grave, triple Invocation, triple Meltdown, double Desires, triple Hornet Drones, triple Engage, triple Terraforming, and then one Succession and one Secret here. As for the extra deck, we have one Mega Fleet, one Seraphonite, double Macabre, one Purgatory, one Rage-In, one Omega, one Kagari, one Morningstar, one Invoker of Madness, one Goblin, one Hayate, one Spectrum Supreme, one Borosword, and finally one Sayuja. For the side deck, triple Cyber Dragon, double Droll, one Call by the Grave, triple Widow Anchor, triple Twisters, and triple Red Reboot, so pretty hefty back row hate here. So let's get into the comments from Ryan then. So the reasoning for the main deck, the ratio on the Mekk Knights is optimal in this list in his opinion. 3 purple as he is every Mekk Knight name that you can imagine, 2 indigo as it can move, and 1 blue sky as he only needs to resolve 1 to win. So moving works with the secrets there, which sort of negates your opponent's monster effects. Then the Abram, or the meme boy as Ryan calls him, may seem like a bad choice, but he has reasons other than memes. It makes Brilliant Fusion a 1-card Morningstar or Madness depending on your hand. Brilliant Fusion sends Lazuli and Avram for Seraphonite. Lazuli, the effect as Avram, you normal summon the Avram, make the Mekk Knight with Morningstar, and then also an interesting thing is you can actually use the Invocation to make Seraphonite if you draw the Lazuli as well, which is kind of cool. So the Engage is just to get the drones, which is a 1-card Madness. As for the extra deck, he says that space in the extra is very tight, only Omega and Sayuja are interchangeable. You can play any combination of the following instead. A third Macabre with a Magellanica, or a second Rage-In with an Underclock Taker. And then he says he recommends the Underclock Taker with the Magellanica or a third Macabre. Another option that he's looked into is Casitas with a Shizuku, due to Casitas being what is effectively a second Spectrum Supreme versus Sky Striker, an auto-win button unless they make either Lightning or Boral Dragons, and to an extent Altergeist as well. If a Water Hand Trap is released, he would 100% run Casitas. It has a decent synergy with Borosword due to its effect allowing it to, due to a lack of a better term, Shield Bash, where you have Casitas in attack initially, Sword changes it to defense, and then you can swing twice with Boral and swing once with the Casitas in defense position. He would also play True King of All Calamities in the extra deck over the Mega Fleet, due to it being pretty much good game versus Goki turn 1, which you can do off just 2 cards, Brilliant Fusion and Drones or Terraforming or Meltdown, or Alistair allows you to make True King of All Calamities, with an interesting comment that actually sets up the secrets as well. As for the side deck, Cyber Dragon is for going second versus Goki or any other Wombo Combo extra link deck, plus it outs Ibly at the cost of your normal, which is a bit unfortunate, but it has to be done sometimes. You could only get 2 drones for the event. The card is still nuts though. He couldn't fit in a third Call by the Grave in the main, and he never sided in the third one. Widow Anchor was only ever sided in at 2 when going second, and Twin and Reboot will stay at 3 because they just work like that. As for changes that he would make, none to the main. For the extra, he would lose the Omega and the Skull Dread and the Mega Fleet, putting in the Underclock Taker, Magellanica, and True King of All Calamities. For the side, he would take out the Call by the Grave and the Widow Anchor, adding in a Mega Fleet and a Droll. So I asked him a bunch of questions about this list. So first of all, I wanted to know, since he said it's a blind first going list, why he decided to run Gamma rather than any other hand trap. He said that Gamma is pretty dumb. It puts extra link materials onto the board, and then the fact that you could, in the current build, go through the Omega and then sort of continue plussing is kind of cool, but it's just more that you get those extra link materials to make your bigger pushes. And he's also playing the Droll just because the card is kind of dumb. Then he's running Desires. I wanted to know if it ever became a problem since he only has the one Lazuli and the one Driver. He said losing Lazuli hurts, but he can live without Seraph Knight anyway, and then losing the Driver is not too much of an issue because it only shuts off your gammas and it doesn't shut off your actual plays. As for the hardest and easiest matchups, the hardest he says is Altergeist and the easiest is Pure Striker. You get to put out so many beaters so you can just take them down pretty quickly. And then with Altergeist being the hardest, it makes a lot of sense to run those 6 cards to deal with them in the side deck. He said he'd run it again in the future because it's really fun and surprisingly strong in a lot of matchups. As for shoutouts that he wanted to make, shoutouts to Craig Aston and Luke O'Connor for letting him tag along on the lift to Saturday's LLDS and for lending him cards for the Sunday's event. Shoutouts to Team Daydream, Josh Mason for giving us all the lifts and the Shadow Mist path, Tom, the Poozy, Wilcox for providing memes on the trip, and to Jason Rose for a really good final. You deserve the win. Special Cyber Dragon, Contact Fuse, Supreme, Spectrum Supreme, and Cyber Dragon. That seems pretty good. GG there. Shoutouts to everyone else in the Daydream chat. Even more shoutouts to those who he tested against, despite hating the Mekk Knights. For example, Sev. Final shoutouts to Shane Lacey, Dan Jones, Fleet, Billy Hemphill, Colin Wharton, Craig CP, Matt, Winter Regionals with Full Power Cosmo going X1, playing versus No Meta Grant, Luke Tyler, Jacob Lee, and anyone else he missed from the Froome, or the Bournemouth, or the Southampton chat. And finally, a shout out to Toby Lee for the Omega. So thanks very much, Ryan, for coming on and sharing your list with us this time around. It's a really interesting list. And I'll probably stick on the combo at the end of this video for you guys if you want to see how it works. It's pretty interesting and you end up with a pretty impressive board as well. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting combo for the deck. It does require you to put a True King of all Calamities into the extra, so making those changes that Ryan has suggested. But it's really nice. It's technically, I guess it's a 3.5 card combo with the current terminology, with half a card being a random discard. So you will need a Brilliant Fusion. This is the hardest one to get. You'll also need any form of Alistair, so I've gone with just a Terraforming here because I happened to draw it in the opening hand. You'll also need a Mekk Knight that has to be either Purple Nightfall or it can be the Indigo Eclipse. So you have 5 copies of this in the deck, 9 copies of this, and 3 of this. Then you need a random card to discard, so that's the typically half a card here. So we're just going to jump into this combo. It's not too long, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get going. Thankfully, we've managed to achieve an empty room on Dueling Books. So we're going to start off with Brilliant Fusion in Spell and Trap Zone number 2. We will be using it to summon out a Gem Knight Seraph Knight, so I'm just going to bring this out first, putting it into defense here. And then we perform this fusion summon by sending the Gem Knight, the Mekk Knight, sorry, Avram, and also the Gem Knight Lazuli. So let's just find where I've gone straight past that. There we go. This will, of course, trigger the effect of Lazuli, so you can add back the Avram to your hand. That is pretty much the main reason to run this in the deck. It is just that it happens to work with this combo. From here, we're going to special summon the purple in attack into this column. So we're assuming that the opponent has nothing on board. Our opponent has just left this card here, but that's not too much of an issue. We'll then use the Nightfall, banishing itself in order to get ourselves the Indigo Eclipse to our hand. Keep in mind that where if you start off with the purple, you are more susceptible to hand traps, but I mean, if they're going to Ash, they're going to put it on the Brilliant Fusion anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. Then we'll summon the Indigo Eclipse over here. And from this point we're going to get to our Alistair, so we'll go through the terraforming, getting ourselves a Meltdown onto the field from the deck, so let's get rid of this. Playing the Meltdown then gets us the Alistair here, and we're then going to normal summon the Alistair. I don't actually think this combo uses the second normal summon that you have available from the Seraph Knight. So we're adding the invocation here of the Alistair. And then from this point we can link the Indigo Eclipse and the Seraph Knight into Mekk Knight Morningstar. So let's just bring this guy out. It's some really nice arrows actually. So with this summoned we can now discard the Avram that we added in order to add the World Legacy Secret. So it does require you to discard a Mekk Knight or a World Legacy card, so the fact that Brilliant Fusion gets you that into your hand is pretty awesome. So from here we can then link these two into the new Alistair link. Where is it? There we go. Again, another monster with great arrows actually, which is pretty nice. We'll then use the invocation that we have, banishing the Alistair that's in the graveyard, alongside one of these two Mekk Knights. We're going to be using the other one with another invocation in a minute, and that will put a Macabre onto the board, and so we'll put it in the left side. Because we have then Fusion Summoned, we can trigger the effect of the Link Alistair. We'll have to discard a card, so this is the random card that we're discarding here, and that will allow us to add a second copy of Invocation from the deck to the hand. Although, yeah, because otherwise you need that extra normal summon, which you won't actually have available. I suppose you could normal summon the Alistair again, if you say you've used the Seraphinite normal summon, which might make things a bit easier. I guess you won't need that Harper card. But anyway, carrying on with this combo that we've gotten in from Ryan. From this point, we can then use the invocation that we have in hand, linking this Alistair that we have on the, banishing this Alistair that we have on the field, and the Link Mekk Knight from the graveyard. We want to keep the Indigo Eclipse there, and that will summon out a second Macabre. So you can choose to just end on double Macabre here if you want. But we're going to go a little bit further. We're going to overlay these two in order to make True King of all Calamities. I'm just going to put it in defense because you never know what your opponent's going to bring out. And then from here we can set the World Legacy secret. I guess you typically want to set it over here so that if you have Mekk Knight plays and your opponent does bring out a Link monster, then you'll be able to carry on playing with that. We can then use the effect of Invocation in the graveyard to add back Alistair. So this goes into the deck, and we get our Alistair back to the hand, and give that a quick shuffle. So we end on this board, and then as soon as the opponent starts their turn, we can flip the World Legacy secret, bringing back the Indigo Eclipse, and you can bring it back to any zone that you want to negate stuff. Because the effect of World Legacy secret, it brings back a level 5 or higher monster, and it negates an opponent's monster effect that activates in the same column as a Mekk Knight monster you control. So we have the negate from this True King of all Calamities, which we can use to just remove the effects of a whole bunch of monsters of the same attribute, but we also have the ability to negate stuff with Indigo Eclipse, so you can summon this into a column. So say your opponent puts something in the column here, where they put the set card, you can summon the Indigo Eclipse there, into that column first, and then later on when they attempt to do something later, you can just move it to another column with this quick effect. And then this continuous effect will negate the effect that they've activated, which is really nice actually. So thanks very much for watching this video and this combo too. Hopefully you got some extra insight onto the deck that Ryan was playing at this LLDS. It's a really cool list, it has a lot of great potential, and hopefully we'll see it again in the future. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.